Good day, everybody. This is the final lecture that I'm going to produce over the endocrine system. And on this one, as you can see, we're going to be dealing with the gonads, that'd be the ovaries of the testes, and other organs or groups of tissues here that are going to produce hormones as well. There's more than just the endocrine glands here that we've been talking about that do this. We're going to discuss a few of those. The first of these organs here that we're going to talk about among the gonads are the ovaries. Okay. Now, besides the eggs, the ovaries are going to produce two groups of hormones. Okay, that would be the estrogens. As you can see up here, the estrogens' main job is to promote the development of secondary sex characteristics, which would include things such as enlargement of breasts, widening of the hips, hair developing in the pubic region and the axillary regions. All those are secondary sex characteristics, and they're under the influence of the estrogens. And then there's progesterone, that is produced, in the ovary, but is also produced in another organ, which we'll talk about later, called the placenta, that works with the estrogen to help prepare the uterus, for implantation. And the way it really does is it quiets the contractions here, so the embryo isn't aborted, from the muscular contractions of the uterus. Now, while I said that the ovary produces the estrogens, be more precise, it is the follicle here that actually produces the estrogens, and as I said on here that these hormones are going to help maintain the pregnancy, and the progesterone is produced by the corpus luteum. It's another structure here that produces that, and as well as keeping the uterus intact here, as you see up here, prepares the breasts for lactation, which will occur after birth. Together, the rise and fall of these two hormones are going to produce what we call the ovarian cycle. That's the cycle of the development of the egg, and the menstrual cycle, which is the periodic shedding of the tissue of the uterus, if pregnancy doesn't occur. Okay, now the next structure that we're going to look at is the testes. Now, the pair of testes are housed in a sac called the scrotum, and that is outside the body cavity because it's very important for sperm development that the body temperature be slightly less than 37 degrees Celsius. So if these testes were in the body cavity like the ovaries are for a woman, they'd be too warm to produce the sperm. Now, the term called androgens, just basically a collective term that means all male hormones. And then here, the one we're talking about most often is testosterone. Okay, now this is produced by the interstitial cells of the testes. Okay, these interstitial cells out here, okay, these are going to be the ones that are producing the hormone testosterone. Okay, now testosterone is responsible for the secondary sex characteristics of men, which would include things like the deepening of the voice, the development of the beard, and of course the pubic and axillary hair, that is also common in the women here, produced by estrogen. So while in women the estrogen produces the pubic hairs and the axillary hairs, it's the testosterone that does it in the men. Now, the release of testosterone is stimulated by the hormone LH. That's the luteinizing hormone that, as you remember, comes from the anterior pituitary. Now, there's a few other organs that are actually going to produce hormones that have an influence as well. Okay, one that we've kind of referred to before is the heart. The heart releases something called the atrial natrionic factor. What this hormone does is it decreases the blood volume by and also decreases the blood pressure by increasing sodium retention in the kidneys. And remember, when by osmosis, if water is going to be present, water is going to follow the solute. So in this case, when you retain sodium, you're also going to retain water. That's the two things here. Basically the addition of water that's going to that's going to increase your blood pressure. Okay, I'm sorry, going to lower your blood pressure because you're going to start excreting the water. Okay, now this is under the influence of aldosterone. Remember, aldosterone is the one that is responsible for sodium balance. A second one I've listed here is the skin. Skin, remember the keratinocytes are responsible for helping produce vitamin D, and one of the first steps in this is the hormone D3. It's the first step in the synthesis of vitamin D. The liver is going to be the next step here. It's going to convert the D3 to calciferol. Okay, this is going to be producing a hormone, erythropoietin. Erythropoietin is the hormone that stimulates the rapid development of new red blood cells. Kidneys, they're going to be responsible for taking the calciferol and turning it into actually vitamin D that we would actually use. Okay, and again, we're still going to be working with erythropoietin here. Kidneys will release erythropoietin to increase your red blood cell count. There are several local hormones in the stomach which control the flow of food through the digestive system. And finally, I should have put this first, is the placenta. The placenta, is going to regulate pregnancy and stimulate the development of the fetus and the mammary glands. What the placenta does, it will secrete estrogen, progesterone, and a few other hormones. It's the placenta that's going to take over the role of the corpus luteum in producing progesterone to help maintain the pregnancy.